Hi, my name's Adrian I'm 43 years old, and this is my testimony. So I'm going to try to keep my eyes into the camera here. So I grew up in the church, but in a very casual way. I went to Catholic school. We went to church 4 or 5 times a year when our parents told us we had to. And did my first communion, gave confession once at my first communion. And by the time I was a teenager, I decided that it wasn't for me. I thought it was a little bit like a cult. And I didn't really get it. It didn't touch my heart. And I walked away. And my parents weren't overly excited about that. But what are they going to do? And many years went by. I thought I'd had it all figured out. I moved all around and figured out my own version of how the world works and how morality works. And there was a period of time where I was pretty convinced I had it figured out. And in my 30s, I got married, and we had Ozzy, and it was my job to teach him about religion, because I went to Catholic school, and my wife, she had religion that impacted her family, but she wasn't very religious, and neither was I. We were both spiritual, and so it was my job because I knew more than she did. So I took that seriously. I said, okay. So we started collecting books of world religions, and I tried to school him in world religions because I thought that was the right thing to do. And every time I got into a different religion, it really just ended up coming back to the thing that made me comfortable, the thing that I knew, which was the Bible. So we read Bible stories, and he would ask me if they were true, and I really didn't know how to answer them, but I didn't want to say no. So I said yes. And I guess that was the beginning of sort of faking it for a while, maybe. Ozzy grew up, and we eventually had to, we were having conversations, and I really didn't know how to answer these conversations. I just did the best I could. And eventually we moved to the subdivision we currently live in. That's Creekside, and we moved in next to the Phillips, and they went to church, and they invited Oz. And I thought, great, Oz can go figure some stuff out, and felt maybe the pressure was off me a little bit, just a little bit. And he went to church, and he really liked it, which actually surprised me, because I never liked it. It was not something that, it was always a struggle to get to church. I remember it was a struggle. Anyway, he asked me to come. He went there for a series of weeks, and he's like, Dad, you got to come. And I said, yeah, okay. What can it hurt? It's probably good for him to see me going to church, right? Can't hurt. So I came to church, and the music was excellent, and the atmosphere was excellent. Everybody was so friendly, and the Pastor Paul, I can't remember the first sermon, but I remember thinking it finishing, and me thinking how much I enjoyed it, how much I enjoyed because I really have come to love learning about history, and I thought, wow, that was excellent. It's just so many things that I liked about it, and I thought, I'll go back. We went back that next week, him and I, and we did it again, and it was great. I thought, okay, I'll go back. I'm not all the way in. I'm not really I haven't prayed in a long time, but I'll go back. That was worth it. And my wife says, are you going to go every Sunday? And I was like, no, don't worry. This is it's good for Oz to see me, participating. This is a good thing. And I said, okay. And then I think it was that third time. I think it was the third week. It was a different sermon that Pastor Paul delivered that day. And at the end of it, we bowed our heads and we were saying a prayer, and he asked us if we wanted to receive Christ. And I remember at first that idea made me a little nervous. And he said, if you want to receive Christ, you can put up your hand. And that also made me nervous. I didn't want to be, seen. I don't know. Just made me nervous. And it was probably just a split second. It was probably a short period of time, but it felt like a really, really long stretch of time after this question was asked. Until I put my hand up. And in that time, something happened in me. There was like a struggle. And I was in pain for a second. And I felt like I had a choice to make. And it felt important. I didn't really think that I had other times to make it. I can't really explain it. It wasn't like, you can do this later. I was like, you got a choice to make. And the choice was whether to open my heart to Jesus. And I don't know there was some fear there. I don't know what the fear was from. Maybe it was from what would happen if I said no, but I couldn't say no. There was a choice, but there wasn't a whole lot of options to say no. When you're, I don't know. I think that I had been softened a little bit over the years. Because there was probably a time in my life where I would have swallowed and just gone a different direction. But I said yes inside my head. I said, yeah, yes. And my heart, squeezed and felt like it hurt. And I think it was a combination of a whole lot of things, a lot of holding a lot in, but this warm feeling went down into my lap. That sounds funny because it sounds like I peed myself, but I didn't. And I just couldn't hold back the tears. And I remember thinking, I haven't cried in how long can I remember? I can't even remember the last time. And I remember thinking, I got all these tears running down my face, and now I got to put my hand up. So again, it was probably a really short period of time, but it felt like a really long period of time. I put my hand up, I kept my eyes closed for a little bit. And then I looked up and I saw saw Pastor Paul. He made eye contact with me for a second, and I closed my eyes again and put my hand down and sort of tried to bring myself back together, but I was really hard. I couldn't stop this emotion from coming. It was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. And I didn't know why, but I knew I had made the right choice. But I didn't really know exactly, I don't know if I fully understood the implications of that choice, what it meant, what I had to do, how it all worked. There were so many questions, but and I still don't have even a fraction of all the answers. But it's been one of the best year and a bit, 2 years. I don't know the exact timeline, but year and a half, let's say. It's been one of the best years and a half of my life. Learning myself and learning about Jesus' love for me, and about my place in the kingdom, and about what he can do to a hard heart. And for the first time, a week ago, I got to share a bit of my story with a group of people who thought that Christians maybe were a little nuts, and it went really well. It's been interesting and wonderful. I can go into the details about what happened last week, but I don't think it matters. I think for me, it was like this very small circle, of like starting something and not knowing where to go with it, and then coming to this place last week where I could talk to a group of people about it. I think what surprised me about it was how good it felt, how incredibly good it felt to be able to tell a room full of people, not just a person. I mean, I've talked to my friends and told them, but to a room full of people, some of who were clearly hostile towards the idea. But it didn't matter. It felt so good. And I think that maybe, it's part of the growth, and I look forward to it. I think that the next however many years God gives me are going to be very exciting. Thanks for letting me share.